Good evening and welcome to Live United. The show is all about bringing guests together to learn more about the great things that are happening in the Monadnock region. So I'm Nikki Sauber, filling in for our usual host, Kelly Steiner, and tonight's guest is Brian Costa, Chief of Police of the Keene Police Department. Welcome, Brian.
Well, thank you, Nikki.
Thanks
and
so
good
much
evening
for
to
being
everyone that may be watching.
Yeah, thanks for coming on our show tonight.
It's my pleasure.
So, first I want to know, what's your career in law enforcement? What's your history with the police department?
Okay. My entire law enforcement career has been in this community with the Keene Police Department. I didn't start out that way. I was a business major in college. I went to work for a finance company when I got out of college. And through the way life is, I ended up running one of the offices that the company had. It's beginning to work out of Boston, but transferred to Keene, New Hampshire. And then, doing that work for about 3 years, I liked working with people, but I didn't particularly enjoy sitting at a desk. And I saw an ad in the newspaper, in the Keene Sentinel, for an opening with the Keene Police Department. And 21 years later, here I sit. All my time with the department has been in operations with a 2 or 3 year stint on the administrative side. And I must say that, through the various positions that I held, patrol officer, supervisor, captain, I probably enjoyed working my partner the most, K9 Nico. But here I am now. I feel blessed and fortunate to be a part of this community and to be tasked with the responsibility to lead our department.
Sure. So a 20-year commitment to the Keene Police Department is pretty outstanding. So thank you for your service, and thank you for being such a vital part of our community and mobilizing the Keene Police Department as well to really give back. And so I know that the Keene Police Department and Cheshire County Law Enforcement recently have been getting more involved in local programming to support children and families in our region. And we can talk a little bit more about those programs in just a minute, but I'm curious, from your perspective, why is it important for law enforcement to be partnering with these types of nonprofit programs?
Well, Nikki, it's an excellent question. And the answer is I'll start off by saying that the men and women that work for this community's police department are a direct reflection of the community they police. They're exceptional men and women, and we all recognize the crucial value of relationships. It's one thing it's a certain challenge to police a local community, to police your neighbors. But the most effective way to do that is to become involved. To be a part of the community that you're tasked with policing. And certainly to a body, we recognize the importance of having positive impacts, particularly on our younger youth, ages 0 to 5, but all the way through elementary school.
That's a great answer, and clearly it shows as Keene Police Department and Cheshire County Law Enforcement at large. They've recently gotten in partnership with a group called Impact Monadnock.
Yes.
That group has been featured in the Live United show before, but for the audience, in case they're unaware, Impact Monadnock is a community-driven nonprofit focused on addressing issues affecting children ages 0 to 5 and their families in the Monadnock region. So this group is really mobilizing different sectors of the community to all come together around the central issue of children and families. And so I understand that recently, earlier this year, there was a gathering of law enforcement who all partnered with Impact Monadnock. Do you want to talk a little bit more about that?
Sure, there was. And I would just start with a year prior to that, is when our department first became aware of Impact Monadnock and the goals it had and what it was all about. We invited some people that represented Impact Monadnock to our police department, and all our supervisors were able to glean an understanding of what the project was all about. And we've stayed involved as a department over the past year. We attended the business summit that Impact Monadnock held at the college throughout the year. And then most recently, what you referred to, we hosted. The Cheshire County Chiefs of Police Association actually hosted their own law enforcement summit.
And I believe we do have a picture of that somewhere, if that could be queued up. But feel free to continue chatting about that.
Well, I was just going to mention that it was extremely well attended. We had law enforcement, not only law enforcement from all over the county, but we had the superintendent of schools and some other leadership from the SAU office were in attendance. And it was a good discussion regarding the importance of being involved in the community and striving to make and to maintain those positive relationships, particularly with our youth. And there's going to be more work going forward. I know I'm meeting with some members of Impact Monadnock later on this week, so we'll see where it takes us.
That's great. And were there any key takeaways from that meeting that you really reflect on or feel strongly about?
Well, I think the biggest takeaway was looking around the room and seeing how well attended it was. There's more to policing than writing tickets or making arrests. That's actually a very small, necessary, but small part of what we do. The importance of embedding yourself in the community, and I keep saying that, but it can't be overemphasized. Of really becoming part of the community that you're tasked to protect and embed yourself in it. So that was a takeaway. And looking around the room, no matter what agency that was there, the feelings were the same. That's where this industry, for lack of a better term, is. And it's, you know what, it's a golden rule. It's common sense because, you know, we wear these uniforms, but we're all human beings. There's really no different between you and I. And I think this part of the state really recognizes that.
Yeah, and it seems like many members of local law enforcement here are so committed to seeing improvement in our community. And many of you, yourself for instance, have worked in this community for long enough where you see multiple generations within a family being arrested and you know, having issues with criminal activity and that sort of thing. So I have heard from that gathering that there was sort of this message that we need to stop the cycle, and it needs to stop, or the way that we can make it stop is by addressing these issues early on.
That's exactly right. Yes.
Yeah. Well, that's great. So partnering with Impact Monadnock on our youngest children, and also I know that you've partnered with Monadnock United Way most recently on a project called the First Day Project.
We did.
Yes,
we did. That was fantastic.
We had the pleasure of working together, and
we did. We stuffed boxes together.
Yes, yeah. So, do you want to chat a little bit about that project?
Absolutely. It was a fun project, and you know, you and I first began talking about this probably about this time last year, maybe a little later.
Yeah.
And you know, like the conversation kind of steered towards, you know, what if we were able to supply every student of a particular school with a brand new backpack, and that backpack will be packed with school supplies and non-perishable snacks. And the purpose of that was to give these students an added sense of excitement for the first day back at school, but also recognizing that some schools more than others, not every child is able to go to school on that first day with a new backpack and new school supplies. So it was a great idea. It took right off, like most things involved in giving in this community. The community got right behind it. We had donations from local businesses, local stores. I know the fire union, the Keene Police, both unions donated. So we got all these backpacks. We had collection sites located around the city. And then by the end of the school year, we stuffed them at the school. Mm-hmm. And it was a great time. There was about 10 teachers there. There was a couple officers there. I was there. We stuffed all these backpacks, and then we transported them back to the police station, and we stored them all in the room. There was about 200 of them, 250 of them.
Close to 250 backpacks in the same room with, you know, some of your riot gear. So it was kind of a funny juxtaposition.
It was, and I wish I had taken a photo of that because it really demonstrates how closely we work with the community. But then the best part about it was we loaded them back up before the school year began. And I wasn't able to attend. I was out of the city on the actual first day of school, but I think we had 4 officers there. I know you were there. And to see the looks on the kids' face when they got their backpacks, and I saw it from the pictures, it was great.
Yeah, we actually have some photos here that, we can roll through. And it really, so this was a photo from the Impact Monadnock.
That was a law enforcement
summit. Yeah. So that was a great, you can see the well-attended room there. And now
That's
here-
the first day.
Yeah, so these are all the children at Franklin Elementary School in Keene, all gathered around with their parents, all excited for the first day and lining up to receive their new backpacks stuffed with school supplies. And there's some teachers helping to hand out the backpacks, students picking through and picking out their own favorite pack. And more teachers handing out backpacks there, smiling faces. And there's one of your officers there. Not sure if I can identify that one.
I believe
but
that's Officer Botrin, Andy Botrin. Yeah. And I'll
Thanks,
tell you, the parents were, a lot of positive feedback from the parents as well as the kids. So
That's great.
this is something that we want to continue partnering with you guys on.
Wonderful.
And maybe pick another school or two next year.
Sure, yeah, and I believe we are, oh, and there's the whole crew. Everyone all together, so there's several of your officers and myself in there, school adjustment counselor Melissa Smith and Principal Eric Kress.
Yeah, and from left to the right for our department is Detective Jen Ramey, Officer Kevin Gina, Lieutenant Todd Lawrence, and Officer Andy Botrin.
Wow, so great crew, everyone all coming together to really make this project possible. And coming up next year, we're looking to serve all the students at both Wheelock and Fuller Elementary Schools. So it's close to 400 to 500 students in this upcoming year. So I think we have a lot of work ahead of us.
We'll get it done.
Yes, definitely. So great participation there. And so I know that Keene Police Department is always busy with another project, another way to give back. And so I'm curious to hear, are there any upcoming events that you'd like to tell the community about?
Well, since you asked, we're actually participating in a fundraiser throughout the entire month of October. And I didn't not shave out of any disrespect for your show. The program is called Beards for Bucks. And the crux of the program is to raise money for the Cheshire County Child Advocacy Center, which is a state-funded organization, but they also rely heavily on private donations. I know for the past 2 years, for example, the city of Keene has donated $5,000 in each of those years. But what this program is, we thought it would be a way for our officers to get involved. If an officer wants to grow here or chooses to grow here, they have to pay or donate a certain amount of money and pledge an additional amount of money. And the premise behind that is historically law enforcement are clean shaven to try and present that professional appearance. So we figured it'd be a fun opportunity, and it's proven to be. Over half our department has chosen to participate in it. And when a citizen asks on the street, you look a little different, what are you doing? You got new rules over there? What's going on in the Keene Police Department? The officer just simply explains what the program is, what we're trying to raise funds for, and we actually have business cards, which I will leave one with you, that
please.
explains what the Cheshire County Advocacy Center is. And what it is, it's a place that supports child victims of violent crime and sexual assault. There's special interviewers that are trained on how to conduct forensic interviews for those special types of victims. So it really is a good cause, and we're happy to be able to do this.
Sure, and is this your first year doing it?
This is our first year doing it.
Okay.
Yeah, as you can see, I've been cheating since September trying to get some facial hair, and I'm not that good at it. Some other officers have full beards.
Well, it's the thought that counts, right?
Yeah.
And have you seen other police departments have this be a success for them as a fundraiser?
I'm aware that the Manchester Police Department, this is the second year, I believe, that they're doing it, and it was a huge success for them. So I became aware of it last year. There's a lot of transition happening in our police department. So when the time for the event came up this year, I put a message out to the department, and there was overwhelming feedback to, let's go ahead and do this. So
Great.
here we are, growing here.
And so is the public allowed to donate to this cause?
Absolutely.
And how would they do that?
You can go right on the website, Cheshire County Advocacy Center, Child Advocacy Center. They have their own website, and I believe they have their own page, Nikki, where they can elect to donate if that's what they choose. Or if they can send a check to the department attention myself, and I'll make sure it gets there.
Okay.
But the money's not going to the police department. every dollar collected is going to the Child Advocacy Center.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. So just one more fun and interesting example of how you're giving back to the community.
Sure.
Speaking of giving back, I know that there's an annual coat drive, and that's not the police department, but the fire department, correct?
That was a huge success at the fire department. They had a goal, I forget what their original goal was, but I believe they raised $26,000 to buy coats.
And was that for this year that happened?
That's for this year, yep.
Wow.
I believe that drive happened throughout the month of September. But I'll refer you to Chief Mark Howard to get the specifics on that.
Oh, okay.
But that was a huge, huge success also.
Wow, and the coats are going to children or children and families in the area?
Children who may not be able to afford or have access to a warm coat for the winter.
And as we all know, we need it here in New Hampshire.
Not last year, but we'll see what this year brings.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
Well, that's great, Brian. Do you have any closing comments or any information you want to share with the audience before we end tonight?
No, I think that was a good talk. Thank you for having me on your show, and I want to wish all the viewers out there a good evening and a wonderful winter.
Sure. Well, thank you so much. And thank you, audience, for being with us tonight. I want to remind you to give, to advocate, to volunteer, to live united. See you next time.